Hey yogis, I'm Sara, and for today's summer cool down class, I'll be guiding you through a series of yin style poses, which will hold passively for several minutes, allowing us to work deeper into the connective tissues and fascia, releasing stress that manifests within. While we hold these poses, we'll draw our awareness to our pranayama, which cools and hydrates the body. If you have a couple of blocks or thick books, bring them along, but don't worry if you don't, as they're not essential. So our first pose today is puppy pose. So take your time making your way there. If you do have your 2 blocks or your books, you can bring them along for this pose. We'll just pop them off to the side and I'll just show you a couple of variations that we can do today. If you don't have your blocks, we can come straight down into standard puppy pose with the knees in line under the hips. You want to stretch the arms out long on the mat and rest your forehead down towards the ground. If you do have your blocks, you could perhaps take one, if you have the one, plant it down underneath the forehead and begin to melt, resting the forehead down and just allowing the arms to hang heavy. If you have your 2 blocks, the last variation, the last option today is the rest of 2 blocks, roughly where your elbows are going to go. So you're going to rest down onto your elbows and perhaps rest your forehead down onto the mat. Bring your palms to touch and beginning to draw your hands towards the back of the head as we melt the chest down towards the mat. So whichever variation you're in today, just allowing the body to begin to settle in to your class today. As we move towards the end of summer, it can be nice to round it off with a soothing yin. Giving ourselves this opportunity, this time and space to check in, see how everything's feeling. Beginning to draw your awareness to your breath. Just noticing how it is today. Noticing the length of each inhale and the length of each exhale. We're going to use our breath today to guide us through each pose. As we hold these poses passively, our body begins to release and open. And we can sink deeper in as we build flexibility. We're building space and strength down through the body, supporting our joints and helping our mobility. In yin, we hold our poses passively. By that I mean we're not tensing any muscles, but we're actively trying to let go. Softening down to the body. The only parts of our body that are working are the parts holding us in our pose. Everything else is softening, melting, and lengthening. And gently make our way out of our pose wherever we are. Begin to lift the head away from the mat. The hands are on the blocks. You can bring them back down onto the mat and just take your time, popping your blocks or your books off to one side and then make our way down onto our bellies into Sphinx pose. Begin to lengthen the legs, come down onto your forearms, weighing them out in front of you. We want to keep our Elbows roughly in line under the shoulders. You can bring your palms together, keep them planted on the mat. We're going to lengthen through the spine as we open the heart space forward. We open through the chest. If you feel any tension at all in the lower back, you can always walk your legs a little bit wider on the mat. It'll just take some of the weight off the lower back. Lengthen through the spine, look forward to begin with. Then you can begin to gently drop the head. So we're keeping a nice opening through the front of the body, but we're allowing the head to hang heavy. So we get a nice opening through the back of the neck as well. Maybe softly close the eyes or bring a gentle gaze. And begin to draw your awareness back inside the body. Let's use this moment right here to notice how you feel. I'm not trying to change anything. We're just beginning to become aware. Doing a scan down through the body to notice that we're not holding any tension. That our glutes are nice and soft. Our legs are hanging heavy on the mat. Shoulders rolling down away from the ears. And keep your awareness with the breath. Either staying as you are in your Sphinx pose, or from here we can move into seal. Only if you feel you've no tension in the lower back. If you do at all, you can stay as you are in Sphinx pose. If you want to take it deeper, you can just begin to bring the hands a little bit out towards the edges of the mat as you begin to lift the forearms away from the mat. The closer you walk the hands towards the body, the deeper, the more intense the pose is on your lower back. So we're not looking to go to our max today. We're not looking to go into our full range of motion. Just go to about 70%. So if you are in seal, as we did in Sphinx, you can just begin to drop the weight out of the head. And then once you're in the pose, begin to settle back in. Keeping the awareness on the breath as you open through the chest. Find more space for the breath, the flow. Keeping each inhale long and steady. As you exhale fully, following the breath as it leaves out through the body. Noticing that you're not beginning to tense up the lower body. If you are, maybe you've gone a little bit too deep into the pose and you need to back out. If you have, you can always come back down into Sphinx. We don't want to push our body beyond its limit or to its max today. We're trying to create space in our own time, as gently and with as much awareness as possible. And gently making our way back out of the pose, nice and softly. If you're in seal, coming back down into Sphinx, that's where we'll all meet. And from here, you're going to bring one hand on top of the other and bring your elbows out towards the edges of the mat as you very slowly and mindfully begin to rest your forehead down onto the hands. Just taking this moment to notice how the lower back feels now. They work really intensely into the body, into the connective tissues and the fascia. It's important that we move slowly and with awareness as we transition through the poses. Begin to shake the hips left to right, let go of any tension. I'm going to make our way into a very brief child's pose, just to counter stretch the lower back. So send the hips back towards the heels, stretching out the lower back. Just for a moment. It's quite an intense pose. We just want to make sure that we're realigning, bringing ourselves back to where we need to be. And from here, we're going to make our way up to tabletop. We're coming into dragon pose from here. So bring your right foot over towards the right side of the mat. You can walk the toes out towards the edge, just so there's enough space for your shoulders so your hands can plant comfortably in line under the shoulders. And take a moment, making your way into the pose. We never want to rush while we go into our yin style poses. Thus we hold them for a little bit longer to make sure that we're comfortable. Now if you need your blocks, you can always place either block underneath the hands, just for a little bit more height. I'm just going to hold here for 3 breaths before we take it a little bit deeper. Now we can begin to go a little bit deeper if you can. So you can stay here, you can stay with your hands in your blocks, or you want to go deeper, you can begin to come down onto the forearms. If this feels a little bit too much today, pop your blocks and you can bring your forearms to rest on either block. We only want to go about 70% today. We're not going to our max. I'm going to allow the body to open and release in its own time. Allowing the hips to become really heavy. Working really, really deeply here. Noticing the jaw, the chin. We're not beginning to clench or hold tension. As we hold these poses a little bit deeper, a little bit longer than normal yoga poses, you might notice the body begin to become uncomfortable and want to move or adjust or squeeze or tense somewhere. Just notice where that part of the body is and see if you can bring softness. And from here, we're going to make our way into pigeon pose. We're going to pop our blocks off to one side, keeping our body how it is. We're going to begin to heel toe the right foot across the mat, across to the opposite side. And don't worry about the foot being in line with the knee. You can come back towards the body, just for a little bit more comfort. I'm going to lengthen through the spine. Use your blocks here if you need to. But we're going to begin just to lengthen first. Find space as we lengthen, sitting up nice and tall, squaring the hips. Now we're going to begin to sink and come down fully into our pigeon. So begin to walk the hands forward. You can always rest your forehead onto the block, maybe onto 2 blocks. Or if you feel you have enough space in the body today, you can rest the forehead right down onto the mat. And completely let go. Noticing where you feel this pose. How the outer right hip feels. The glute, the groin area. Soften through the shoulders. Softening the muscles. Inhale, find length. Exhale, sink and soften. Gently make our way out of the pose into look up, pressing into both hands, just stretching up for a moment. Just going to make our way to the opposite side, starting out in our dragon pose. Just going to walk ourselves back to our tabletop and walk the left leg in, bring the right leg back. Just going to stretch out that right leg just to bring a bit of space back in, life back into the right leg. So you can plant the toes on the mat and just press into the right heel, pressing the body towards the back of the room. Just doing whatever you need to do. If you need to take a downward facing dog here, absolutely do. Come back into child's pose. And then when you're ready, we're going to set ourselves up for the next side. So I'm going to walk the left foot up towards the top of the mat, in line under the knee, and walk the right leg a little bit further away on the mat. So we're getting a nice long body. And set yourself up. Maybe bring your blocks in line under your hands. Inhale, begin to lengthen through the spine. Three deep breaths. And then, once you're ready, we'll make our way down into our pose. So you can bring your forearms to rest on your blocks. Maybe you rest down deep onto the mat. Or rest maybe your forehead down onto the block. Just to where you want to go to today. Notice maybe one side feels a little bit different than the last. Maybe you can go much deeper. Or maybe your body's saying back off. Just notice what you notice. Just becoming aware. Checking in. Using this time, this space for you and your body and your mind to connect. Noticing how as we hold these poses for a few minutes, noticing how the body begins to unwind, you can naturally sink deeper. That the body's already building and finding that flexibility. And when you're ready, we'll gently come out, popping the blocks off to one side. And we'll bring the left foot into our pigeon pose. Begin to walk the left foot to the opposite side of the mat as you begin to soften the knee down. Inhale, find that length on this side. I'm going to square off the hips. So you can maybe rock side to side just to find that center point. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, begin to lower down onto the mat. Use your blocks here if you need to. Maybe on this side you can go deeper, or maybe you need more support. Just try and enjoy these poses, enjoying the sensations, connecting with your breath, and using it to hold you and go deeper. So you inhale deeply down to the bottom of the belly, following the exhale up and out through the body. See if you can notice the little pause at the top of the inhale before you begin to exhale. I'm going to begin to gently unwind out of the pose, beginning to lift the forehead off the mat. Pop the block away to one side. Use your hands to walk yourself back up. You can walk the right leg a little bit closer in, just for enough space to bring the left back out. And you can stretch through the left leg. Make your way into your down dog, your child's pose, if you need to. And from here, we're going to meet in butterfly pose. So you're going to bring your feet out in front of you. We're going to bring the soles of our feet to touch. Walk the feet a little bit away, a little bit further away from the body than you normally would. So there's a bit more space in between the legs. You can bring your blocks and you can plant both blocks, if you like, on top of the feet. Or you could plant them even to the inside of the feet. It all depends on where we get to when we come down into our forward fold. So take hold of the shins, the knees, the tops of the legs, wherever feels right for you. Take hold of each one, and just see where is right. We're going to inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, begin to fold forward. Now you might need to readjust your blocks when you get there, but the idea is you want your forehead to comfortably rest down. Now if you don't have blocks, it's perfectly okay. You can just take hold of wherever you can and allow the body to round down, sinking deeper. So it's up to yourself. If you have your blocks, you might not want the support. You might feel you can go deeper today. Great if you can. So wherever you come to, just begin to soften and close in. And beginning to allow the body to be completely relaxed. Letting go of any effort. As you notice the forehead connecting with the mat. Noticing the weight of the body. Soften through the face. Allowing the jaw to become heavy. Muscles in the shoulders unwind and melt. So you notice the weight of the arms hanging down towards the mat. Noticing the hands, the back of the hands, to the fingers, noticing the parts of the body connecting with your mat. Allowing it all to become a bit heavier and melt and sink a little bit deeper. And gently unwind out of the pose. If you have blocks, pop them off, out of the way. And gently come back up, sitting nice and tall. From here, we make our way onto the mat, lying down on our backs. Gently and softly. Coming down flat on the mat. Hug the knees into the body. It's going to stay here with our knees resting heavy. Just feeling the weight. Just before we move to our next pose. Begin to extend the left leg long away from the body, keeping the right knee hugging in as much as you need to. If it's a good bit away, that's okay. We're coming into a twist. No fancy poses here. We're going to take hold of the right knee with the right hands and begin to draw the right knee across the body, coming into a twist. You can always rest your blocks under the knee, just for more support. Once again, we want to use our props today. You can extend the hands long away from the body, or maybe into cactus. So bending at the elbows, palms facing the sky. As we twist at the belly, begin to nestle in here. You could always look over towards the right. A nice full body twist. Soften the muscles. Soften through the shoulders. Soften the muscles surrounding the belly. Allowing the weight of the right knee to sink deeper with each breath. As we hold here, we find more comfort, more ease in the body to move through our day. And gently begin to unwind out of the pose. Bring your head back to center first. And begin to bring your hands down to take hold of the right knee and draw yourself back to center. We're going to take hold of the opposite knee. We're keeping the right knee hugged in. Begin to draw the left knee up as well. You could rock side to side here, forward and back, just to notice how either side of the body feels. And take hold of the left knee with both hands and begin to extend the right leg long on the mat, hugging the left knee in as you begin to draw that knee across your body. You can readjust, take your time, get into the pose. With Yin, there's no rush. We'll move nice and softly. Bring yourselves into the pose. Extend the arms into cactus. Maybe begin to look over towards the left. Close the eyes. And begin to melt. Noticing the hips. As you notice the weight of the legs. Down to the calves and your ankles. Down to your feet. Noticing the arches in your feet. Into your big toe. And down to each toe. Body melts deeper on the exhale. Sinking into the mat. I'm going to gently release and come back out of the pose. Bring your head back to center. Begin to take hold of the left knee. Coming back, hugging the left knee in. Draw the right leg to meet it. And rock side to side. Lovely. We're coming towards the end of our class here and into our final pose into Savasana. We can take a little bit of a variation in our Savasana today. As if you'd like to, if you have your 2 blocks. If you don't worry, you can just come straight into normal Savasana. If you do have your 2 blocks, you can place one in between your shoulder blades. Gently, you can plant your feet on the mat to gently make your way down and bring the second block under the head. Wherever you want, you can bring it right down onto its lowest level. And begin to extend the legs long away from the body once you're here. Extend the arms down along the body. Palm is faced towards the sky. Take your time to get into this pose. Savasana is our most important pose of the day. It's where we tie everything together. And we take this moment in stillness. Allowing the shoulder blades to melt and become heavy. Allowing the whole body to become weightless. Allowing the chest to open. And find more space for the breath to flow. As you notice the gentle rise and fall of the belly. I'm going to leave you here today in your Savasana, whichever variation you're in. I encourage you to stay as long as you can. Thank you very much for joining me for today's class. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Namaste.